actually right now I teach just 11th and 12th graders history. I just started teaching some new AP stuff, which was quite intimidating, and I had to do a lot of school last summer. But I do love history. I've spent, yes sir.
For the video, can you repeat your name?
Yeah, my name is Marco Bicchieri. Got that video just like it's spelled. Okay. Anyway, and what I want to do is, we do a lot of serious stuff, a lot of document analysis, CA writing, and what we're going to do today isn't necessarily not serious. Hopefully the kids see what's serious in it. But about once a month, I like to do what we call a cartoon blog. And I tell them, since I'm not, actually I do have a smartphone now, but I'm not very electronic tech savvy. I do what I have to for my job. And I actually like touching things and getting close to people. I do a blog that actually I modified from an AP, an old, much older AP instructor who had the same facility or lack thereof with electronic technology that I do. And what we're going to end up doing at the end of this period, we won't probably get through a whole rotation, but I'm going to set out some butcher paper with 3 political cartoons on a similar theme. We're going to have an area, we'll set 3 of you, we might have 4 in one group, 1 in each area of the pie. I have some pies coming out from each cartoon, and you're going to write, you're going to have 2 minutes to look at it, think about it, and then write a response. It could be a comment, and after the first person goes through it, might be a comment on a comment, just like a blog report, but we're just going to do it with some overhead markers and some butcher paper. So that's what we're going to do by the end of today. I have never tied much that I've done to the Common Cores, and I was spending some time looking at that. I came up with mainly some reading things. Mainly, we've been looking at writing Common Core standards and tasks, and so it was a little bit of a stretch for me to go to the reading. And as you know, they all tie in. This is what I was looking at as far as what I thought was appropriate for looking at these cartoons, which are primary documents. So it's addressing text, and kind of like Shelley was doing earlier, we have to teach them how to address text. And I went and looked at it. I don't think that this task matches everything there, but I'm trying to do a little bit at a time because the giant task to do it in Common Core is very overwhelming and intimidating. So I underlined here what I thought this would begin to address with these kids. And of course, it's a long process, but this is what we're trying to start. So I'd like them to be able to cite specific textual evidence and supporting analysis of primary sources and determine the central ideas or information of the primary source. And I would say if I had to, on this particular one, truncated, I would go to number 2. It kind of goes from the other end to complement some of the writing you do when you prepare for arguments, like Shelley get out better from you. I'm glad it came before I did. Where you're looking at, you're interpreting documents, you're putting it together then with secondary sources, and then we have to make an argument and substantiate it. So this is one way we can do that. Also, the way we run ours, we call it world affairs, not contemporary world problems. But the way we run it, we're following current events all the way through the year, trying to relate it to whatever topic we're covering. But we're in the library a lot with Kathy, we have current event journals. So this is a way that I felt, and actually Shelley, I looked at the exact same suggested unit that you did from the OSPI site. I add politics on there. We were talking about globalization and the economy, and then I had politics. We look at the environment like they select, but this works also within that particular unit. So that's where I'm headed. I write, as Kathy knows, my emails are not concise. So my learning targets, I need to learn how to write smaller learning targets. I showed it to Kathy and she said, no, that's okay because it's a very complex task. But I think she's a good teacher and she knows that I'm just starting, so she's really encouraging. But listen to this, I think this is almost worse than the Common Core standards. But I did find out, I at least pat myself on the back for using the higher level thinking. So we're dealing with this stuff they're supposed to be working with in 12th grade. Synthesize and apply their understanding of satire and symbolism and salient national and international events and issues to infer the message of a political cartoon. And then the other task I'm looking for is express concurrence, opposition, or middle ground in response to a political cartoon or classmates' comment on that cartoon as evidence to preferred responses. And I think that's obviously a long-winded way of telling you that we're going to be writing responses to a political cartoon. Now, depending on the sequence that I do these, the first round that I do these, we have to spend a little more time reinforcing what they're teaching in 11th and 12th grade English. And actually, some of the, I think freshmen and sophomore teachers do it too, with the literary, say visual devices in this case too, symbolism, irony, satire versus parody, sarcasm. So I would probably, this could be a 2-day lesson depending on where it's working and we've led up to it. But I think our English teachers have done a better job too of cutting down the literary and visual devices that they work with. And our kids really know them very well. I mean, they'll even mention them to me when we're studying U.S. history, when we're looking at documents and such. So I'd like to work more with English, but they take care of a lot of my job already. So it's really cool. Well, it makes me want to work with them even more. I tell you, Bobby. Yeah, it's true. Okay. So before we start looking actually even at some of these literary devices and visual devices, you guys, what are some of the big issues right now, nationally or internationally?
Snowden was spy.
Okay, is Snowden a spy? Was he a turncoat? Did he break the Alien Sedition Act? What else? Supreme Court activity, gay marriage. What else? Supreme Court.
Voting rights.
Voting Rights Act, Section 4 and 5. What else?
Affirmative action.
Affirmative action. Anything else internationally now?
Winding down the war in Afghanistan.
Okay, so
Meeting
kind
with
of
the-
closing
meeting
one
with
door and maybe opening another? Or might we be opening the other door?
Syria.
Yeah, Syria. And also in this lesson and everything we do, we're trying to create the nexus between what we do here, connecting to the world. So I do have them look at things nationally and internationally. In the first semester as civics issues, but we do show them how they all overlap. And also how things in America with, great, the burden of responsibility, the imperial man's burden, or whatever, it's negative, or the great democracy's burden, is that the things that happen here, from decisions on gay marriage to the way we surveil our population, affect other countries. They reflect on that, they react to that, they criticize us. Right now we're being mocked by what great powers because of that. China and NSA stuff. China, Russia, they're having a lot. I mean, Kerry had to back off after he got kind of bellicose. He's like, well, we still do. So it all ties in. We'll see, even though not everything we do today is international, and the gist of the CWP unit that you're talking about is being international. It kind of starts here, and it's like the way children develop, right? It's at home, then it's out here, and it goes up overall. Contemporary world problems, that's what they say, the OSPI names it, and then we just name it world problems.
Sometimes it's very interesting to know where you see that about contemporary world issues.
Yeah, right. Okay, so some of the, I'm not going to be the English teacher. I tried once and I wasn't that good at it. So I enjoyed it though. I don't know what that says. You're not very good at it. I don't know. I enjoyed it when I did. Okay, so we talked a little bit about symbolism. Is this coming out? That's part of the reason I know. Kids couldn't read my writing. Sarcasm. And then this is probably very important here, is this idea of satire when we're looking at political cartoons. And then I want to take it, just also, I'd like to briefly draw the contrast to parody. So symbolism, pretty straightforward. I'll give you a symbol, you give me the meaning. Let's think in a political context. Donkey.
Democratic Party.
Okay. Guy with a white beard, white hair, red, white, blue hat. Uncle Sam stands for United States, our government. Okay, so symbolism we're pretty good at, and the kids understand that pretty well. How about, I think the toughest one is irony. And it's tough for me to explain, that's why I'm going to have Nick give me some examples. But it's kind of the opposite, if it's verbal, I'm saying something that's really the opposite of what I mean. Or if it's situational, there's an action, but there's this unintended opposite action.
So situational, I had two, for example, fireman's house burns down, you want, or the principal.
Can you say that? Would you say that one more slowly, please?
Yes.
I don't have much plan. No, I'm just kidding.
An example would be if the fireman's house
This is sarcasm.
burned down, or that the principal's son barely passed or graduated.
Good, so that's situational. Can you do verbal? Verbal's tough.
I'm not sure on this, but a statement like, "I'm not dumb" is just a facade.
I'm not dumb, it's just a facade as in facade.
No,
That's
that's
very
great.
good. That's a good one. And we're primarily, we're going to be looking at situational. It's going to be visual, but there is some text in some of these, so there is going to be some irony too. Sarcasm. Obviously, it's big in high schools.
No.
I hate to say, I know we're taught not to do it, but high schoolers seem to enjoy it. I guess because it's their favorite, one of their favorite types, so it's tempting to be sarcastic. What would an example of a sarcastic statement be? Because really, sarcasm is almost a subset of irony, isn't it? It's acting some way, but really meaning the opposite. It's almost like bitter, pointed, critical irony. What's a good statement? Yeah, you said more than enough.
Have a good one, though.
Nick?
This presentation's going really well.
Could you do it a little more? Could you drill a little more? Let me go with let me really hear it though.
This presentation's going really well.
That's good. Okay, satire versus parody. Parody is a little simpler and more, parody is satire is more innocent cousin, right? Mischievous, parody, I'm making fun to entertain. I'm copying somebody's style. I want to show you how witty I am. So I'm going to copy, I don't know, Walt Whitman's style, just so you can see that I'm doing Walt Whitman. I'm going to put some funny stuff in there. Isn't that funny? But I'm not going to really criticize Walt Whitman. Satire is more, you're making a point with the humor, and generally it's a criticism. In fact, it always usually is a criticism. Not necessarily an insult, but a commentary. What are some of the shows that the kids do love to get their news from that are just chock-a-block satire?
Daily Show.
Daily Show, Colbert. And I like showing, I kind of gave up on showing parts of Daily because too vulgar. I like his interviews, but you can get away with most Colbert, and it's good satire. You have to explain to certain parts of our population in Owensburg that they are making fun of WASP, conservative males. But it's light enough that you can get away with it. Yes, sir.
With the Saturday Night Live.
That's what we were just talking about.
Very good. All
Sarah,
sorts. And their satire is all
Sarah
sorts.
Palin, is it,
Oh, the Sarah Palin satire?
is
They satire everything from Lawrence Welk to families to mischievous children. Yeah, right. Okay. So we've studied some of this before. It's going to come up in your cartoons that you're looking at today. So be aware of those literary devices. All right. What I'd like to do next is, and I think the National Archives, by the way, just plug what you've probably seen other stuff they do. They do really helpful things for social studies teachers, and I would say English teachers too in some ways, especially with documents, obviously. But they do very clear, simple things. And I tend to be a little bigger than these guys here. Do a nice job of graphic organizers. So one thing I'd like to do is go through, first of all, show you a political cartoon, and then show you one way, and I've put with my lessons, I put up, I think, 3 different ways that I have for analyzing that I made up that isn't as clear as this. This is very clear. And then there's another more global from the artist's view that I gave a link to, so those are fun. Who is this lovely lady? Sarcasm. Right, and in Washington, D.C. for about 3 years. Anybody know her name? Starts with an R, Leslie? Reed. Michelle Reed. Okay, does everybody see this? She was, but was from the corporate world, right? Was not an educator. So she ran it like a business, closed a bunch of schools, increased public schools, got rid of tenure, increased testing. So what I think I'm gonna do, actually, I'll hand one of these out. You guys don't need to fill this, we can talk through it. I might eliminate, I think what I'm gonna do is probably eliminate. I would go through this initially the first time I did it, but I think I'm gonna skip to the guided group practice, we'll do it together. And I'll look through your suggestions. But I have a few extra cartoons. I was gonna go through the Michelle Reed by myself. Okay. But I'll have you guys look at these while I'm passing it out. I'll read through it, but start looking at it and see if we can find some clues in this cartoon. And I have one that's a little more obvious that I think we can use too, if this one doesn't interest you. There you go. You see all that? Okay, I think that's fine. I'm probably going to see this.
Yeah.
Oh, do you? That isn't me.
I know.
I wear it.
Yeah.
That's good. That makes you a good teacher. Okay, let's go through this together and talk about some of the features. And there are some of these areas that you might not be able to fill out. Some political cartoons, for instance, when we get to what's written, don't have a whole lot of words in them. Some do. Some have a big bubble and people responding. So the task isn't to fill this out totally, but we do want to fill some of it out. Okay, see ya, Michelle. Oh gosh, she's got her own business now. Pretty much just goes around and promotes testing it and getting rid of tech. That's it. I mean, it's not very creative. All right. So list the objects or people you see in the cartoon. So we've established that, right? And who was she? What was her job?
Superintendent. DC.
Superintendent, DC schools. Okay. The other thing I like about this is that they differentiate and give you these different levels. We're in level 1 right now, and I'm not very good at differentiating, I'm afraid. But I like that this one, if you wanted to, you could almost, let's say, if we wanted to differentiate the task we're going to do today, we could have kids walk around and just fill this out rather than try to give pithy comments or come back. And you could also have them just do a certain level, and they get a bit more academic by the time you get to the bottom of this. I appreciate it. How about a caption or a title? Does it have?
Reform 101 maybe?
I don't know, would we call that a caption, or would we just say that's some of the internal text? I think it's more the internal text. Good answer, man. All right. Yeah, okay, so that was one there. All right. 3 words or phrases used by the cartoonist. What are the ones that stick out to you guys? You like more testing? That's 2. I wouldn't be that strict at teasing, but tenure? Okay. Would we want minus tenure to make sure we got okay? Okay. Important dates or numbers? We have a number. We don't have to talk about that right now. So these kind of questions, that would be like a level 1. I wouldn't say it's even analysis. They refer to it as a level of analysis, but it's something obviously you have to be able to do before you analyze, because you have to know the constituent parts. Mike, do you?
No,
Okay.
I'm processing. Thank you.
All right. All right, when we go to the visuals now. Visuals. Objects. What would you say are symbolic objects? We're going to have a lot of objects, but not all of them are necessarily standing, and we can take chances though. Dabble. Okay.
The fingernails on the board. Yes.
Okay. Nails. Anything else?
Books.
The books. Oh, the apple that has the worm in it. All right. Good stuff. desk? How about meeting for each? Apple with worm.
Yeah, that's a teacher's reward.
Okay, so the apple without the worm? Oh, you're saying a reward, like a
Well,
reward.
no, that's show appreciation and you're doing your work too, so.
Is this one of those type of literary or visual devices we see here? Pardon? There's an illusion. How about an apple? Yeah. How about nails on the board? What does that symbolize? So she's irritating. You say, and you say mean? Disdain.
Because it's a combination with the facial expression. It's like, it's very deliberate.
Books.
Um,
What do you say? Standing for academic.
Is there a type on the books though?
No, the top one's a composition book, but it looks to me to be a sundry, stack of books. Desk.
Power.
Power and authority. Good. How about words? Most significant words. What's that? Better schools. More testing.
Here's one, this is basic stuff in 101, so this is the basic.
Oh, the 101, okay.
So it's not like the first level of class.
It's up here. Yeah.
Oh, so you're not gonna.
So 101, these are the basics.
Yeah, true.
More testing. These don't all have to be symbolic, right? I mean, there's some kind of a symbolism of what is this telling us that they chose to put those two words up there? Schools and testing. Okay. There's a relationship with that particular person too.
It's like an equation that says we're testing minus 10 or equal better school. Yeah.
How about adjectives and emotions? Vicious. And you get that from
her expression on her face. Like she has like her teeth almost look like an animal.
She does look like she's kind of enjoying herself.
Yeah.
There is a certain joy.
This is this. And then you keep this one.
Okay. That's that irritating too, right?
It's like she has a smile on her face, but it's more skewered.
Even the size of her head is like in your face.
Right. Yeah, she's powerful and she's not shy.
She did fire on that.
Yeah, a lot. You opened up a lot of charter schools. I'm not going to go all through the level 3 because I'd like you guys to end up doing this, and this is something we probably would have done before this time. But in general, at the end, this is interesting too, so they understand bias. I'm just going to go to the, when we look at that cartoon, what special interest groups, or maybe groups of people in general, would agree or disagree with the cartoon? Agree or disagree?
Don't get disagree with maybe Microsoft.
Right, a lot of other people who aren't
Bill
educators.
Gates put
Yeah.
all that money behind board.
Okay, so he might Yeah, we do need to test, and didn't the Gates Institute too, they're one of the ones that came up with data that said it doesn't matter how many children you have in a room.
Yeah.
It's the teacher. And then they make you feel better by saying, well, because if you're a great teacher, you're a great teacher. But yeah, so the Gates Foundation, I think this is good.
And they gave many schools that they, testing
That's why.
I went to high school with that guy, and he had some bad blood. Just kidding. But that's how Ellensburg is. I have a guy, he said the first day I came to school at Ellensburg High School in my sophomore year, didn't know anybody. This guy, I don't know, first period, locker room, I don't know how he knew that my mother was Mexican. He called me a spit my first time and wanted to fight me. And I swear to this day, the guy won't talk to me.
What?
And I go across with him sometime when we're going for coffee. But it's weird, and that's not Ellensburg, but that's just old scores. When you don't leave the town you go in high school with. I tried to escape 6 times. I'm here to tell you it doesn't work. Give up. Get Buddhist. Get rid of the pleasure and pain. All right. This is.
the long desires.
I know. Shouldn't have any desires, right? I'm a Buddhist. I was raised Catholic though, and I like the blood and suffering. So, ritual cannibalism. I like to tie it into the Donner Party. Anyway, the cartoon blog exercise goes like this, and I think it's more complex. I wrote it out in great detail so nobody would miss what they're doing, but I'll repeat what we said. Nick, did you set me up before tables? Yeah, sure. So, what I'm going to do is we'll have you in groups of 3. I think we'll need 1 or 4. Oh, that's great. Why don't you 3 guys fill a table? And it doesn't matter which one you go because we'll rotate at least once. We won't have time to rotate. Why don't you 3 guys fill a table? And I do this with all of my psychological educational research. And then Charlie, why don't you 2 guys go with Charlie? And then Nick, you'll go with Laura and Mike. So what you're going to find at your table, you'll find a set of cartoons with a theme. I don't think I need to for this group, but sometimes I may write the topic or the theme on the board because some kids are just not getting it. And the goal would be that you're not talking at all. I'm going to simulate if you guys do have questions. I'll wait till then.
You're gonna put your finger on it. I'll make sure you're on camera at all times.
Thanks, Nick.
We got one more. Let's put you guys.
Fine.
Yeah, Frank is one.
As long as there's 3, no problem. Nick, I'll just take them off. You guys do not start writing yet, but feel free to look at them, take it in, see what the topics are. Okay, so what I'm going to do in a moment, go ahead and look at them. I don't want you guys to discuss these. I'll circulate. If you have a question and you feel stuck, let me know. But you can write a comment. You can ask them questions. Maybe it's rhetorical. Will. Maybe it's sincere, you're not sure. If you're not real sure where you're going, maybe you can just make a list of the symbols. And then I will rotate you in 2 minutes within your group. So you'll respond. Well, you guys can rotate the sheet, and you'll respond to the next cartoon. Then I'll rotate it for the last time, 2. And then when we're done, you guys, I would start rotating tables and rotate within the tables. Comments. Comments can be biting. And they can be critical, but they can't be ad hominem attacks or personal attacks. You can't attack the person who's writing, just like we would in class. We're not putting people down. But it's okay to be biting and aggressive if that's your angle. Maybe you're just funny or mild or more cerebral. But you get to choose what kind of comment. And at the first rotation, you can start commenting on comments if you want. You don't have to. So why don't you start, and I'm going to stop you in 2 minutes, and we'll rotate those sheets. I will come around if you have a question. Yes, sir.
Very good. We have 2 minutes per cartoon.
Yes.
And so I have 6 on the blue sheet. And then
Yeah, 2 minutes per cartoon, and then we'll rotate your group to another table.
And the first thing is
Yes, you have that one.
The first one takes a little bit, but when it goes, you'll have a lot of stuff to comment on. I do sometimes. You guys, one bit, Laura asked a good question, one bit of differentiation. If I would have had more time, I would have given you examples, but sometimes I'll also write the first comment. Or I'll write to, like a comment and a question, so they see that. I've also shown them blogs. Most of the kids have seen blogs, so they know how they work, but not all of them do. So that's a great question. All right, rotate it. And if you didn't put a comment, that's okay too. Some of these you guys might not speak to you like the others do. Out of these topics, you guys, were there any that you think would make good debate topics that would have a good, even punch on each side? Because some of them are a little harder for kids, and sometimes harder for us in general. What were some of the topics? Did you see any?
I don't know if it's a good debate, but I thought it was just showing like our connection, to global issues. The U.S. connection was the Bangladesh fire, and how, just talking about, the issue in Bangladesh and the conditions there, and, the wages and we're seeing, but then when we shop at Walmart, and, how we're sort of presenting.
So maybe a debate topic could be like resolve. Globalization is good for everyone. Any other topics?
I think somebody says or this or.
Great one, you guys. Security versus privacy. That would be a good one. So what can we make a statement out of that we can debate?
Individual privacy should be.
Resolve individual privacy should take precedence over that.
I was thinking about it.
You know, interestingly enough, Nick and your minions.
Silence! I found this at the end of this school year, that most of the teenagers, their attitude with the whole surveillance thing was, and these were liberal, moderate, conservatives. By and large, I would say 80% of them said, I don't have anything that I care. Kids will say, most kids, and I think a lot of Americans, and it's mainly younger Americans that are on the internet, they say, I don't care if people are listening to my phone calls or looking at the internet. I don't have anything to hide. So it's hard to maybe get them where I want to be. But the whole idea of what's privacy, what does privacy mean? And also, when you start moving a line, then what can happen later? That whole precedence, like the Supreme Court precedence. Yeah.
I just wonder if it's, a developmental stage or a generational difference.
I think,
They don't have.
I don't. Also, we have more physical interaction. Like if you go back to this, I believe that if you're living more electronically, you're not aware of people looking at you. In fact, we think you're always private.
Because you go.
Even if somebody asks you, Mike, well, I guess not, because I'm getting all these ads. But really, what you're telling yourself is I'm alone. But when we're little, you're playing with the neighbor next door, or you pull your pants down and pee and we see you. Oh, privacy. But now you're doing way worse things, way more, personal and vulgar things on the internet, and you don't even think, I think, sometimes.
And not only that, you go to other people's Facebooks and you keep up with each other that way. That's what you do when strangers reach your spot.
Right.
So it's just the electronic age and the way they engage each other.
Yeah. They don't see it. And they're still relatively innocent.
I want to know what the hippies are.
You guys, if we go back to the targets, well, actually, they think I tell them I was a child in the 60s. I wasn't a child of the 60s. My uncle was a hippie, or I was a kid. Well, I was watching the protests and stuff. Did we hit our targets? And I can see now, looking at my own, I should have worded it. Maybe just, did you have to use, did you engage in some analysis and
mix that with your knowledge of current events to understand, and then comment. Were you able, with all of these or most of them, to come up with a comment? How many of you at least one time commented on somebody's comment or question? So you're engaging in a public debate. Was this a worthwhile exercise? I mean, and think of yourself as students of world affairs. Is it a worthwhile exercise? Shelley set me up with the healers, you know, but being a good citizen and stuff, right? Would this, an exercise like this, would this enhance your, functionality as a citizen? Are you a better citizen? I'm not saying super citizen, but did that make you a more engaged citizen?
It makes me more aware of the decisions I make or don't make. And also aware that there's things going on, whether I'm into them or not, that impact on.
And being a citizen, a human being, even lower on the chain. Decisions, right? I'm in this situation, I make a decision. We're doing it all the time. Certainly we're doing it politically.
I think part of it will build it empowers them to build their comfort with looking at these things, because most high school students probably don't spend a lot of time looking at political cartoons.
Right.
And I mean, even in a group like this, it can feel a little intimidating, because you're like, well, what if I don't get it? What does that show about me? And you help set that up, so the symbols and things you might see, and you have other people's comments to look at too, in case you feel like, I'm enjoying this, which is a picture on.
And building them to where they can even go and select one and comment.
Yeah.
And then later to draw one.
How do we-
That's tougher than using everything symbols and hitting them.
Do you get kids who just say, I don't get this one, like at all?
And that's why I walk around and
Yeah.
then I prompt them. I prompt them, and also sometimes helping, putting the topics of each one on the board, it helps them a little bit. But it's also formative assessment. It helps me see who's not getting it, or even though they've been there a while, who's still not getting
So they should
the
know
big
about
issues.
these issues, you've talked about that in class.
I won't do this
To a
probably
certain-
until the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So most kids, unless they're really struggling, and I can give that little graphic organizer for some kids, so even if they can't comment, they can record and say, there's a big fat factor. I mean, even if all they're doing is writing down the symbols of the words.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that step one
Yeah.
analysis. Anyway, I'd like, to tell my kids when they go to, have a great afternoon. Be kind to yourself and others, and be an effective citizen. And I also on Friday say, you stay out of my neighborhood, I'll stay out of yours.